Hello and welcome back. For this last video in the series, we're going to show that the derivative of the inverse of the hyperbolic cosine is equal to 1 over the square root of x squared minus 1. And to do this, we're going to recall the formula that we had earlier, which was the hyperbolic cosine inverse of x is the natural log of the quantity x plus the square root of x squared minus 1. So we're going to take the derivative of that formula on the right-hand side. We're going to take d dx of the natural log of x plus the square root of x squared minus 1. And when we take the derivative, we have to be very careful to make sure we obey the rules of calculus. So this is going to be a chain rule problem. We know that the derivative of the natural log is always 1 over whatever the argument is, which is x plus the square root of x squared minus 1. Then by the chain rule, it's times the derivative of what's inside. Derivative of x is 1, and then the derivative of the square root is going to be 1/2 times the x squared minus 1 to the negative 1/2 times a 2x by the chain rule. So if we simplify this down, we're going to have 1 over x plus the square root of x squared minus 1 multiplied with the quantity 1 plus, and when we simplify this down, we're going to have a 2x over top of the square root of x squared minus 1, and of course there's a 2 there from the half. So if we now simplify this down, you'll notice we can cancel out our 2's. So now once those 2's are canceled out, we can go ahead and rewrite this as 1 over x plus the square root of x squared minus 1. And then over here, it's multiplied with 1 plus x over the square root of x squared minus 1. We will now get common denominators before we multiply. So that's still 1 over x plus the square root of x squared minus 1. Over here, we multiply the top and bottom by the square root of x squared minus 1. And over here, we still have our x over the square root of x squared minus 1. So when we add those together, we've got 1 over x plus the square root of x squared minus 1 times x plus, I'm going to write that a little better, x plus the square root of x squared minus 1 over the common denominator, square root of x squared minus 1. And when we multiply these two fractions together, you will notice that this denominator and that numerator cancel out completely. And our final answer is just 1 over the square root of x squared minus 1, which was the derivative formula that we wanted to show at the beginning of the problem. So therefore, we have shown that the derivative of the hyperbolic cosine inverse function is equal to 1 over the square root of x squared minus 1. And we can actually show this for all of the other inverse hyperbolic trig functions as well. This requires us to carefully use the chain rule and some quotient rules and what other rules as necessary. So as a recap, we went and used the derivative formula for natural logs, got common denominators, multiplied, simplified, and got our final answer.